All right, I don't know if I've started or not. Waiting to see if a notification comes up because I've realized that times where I do end up starting a stream, but it doesn't actually show up on my stream. Yeah, actually, there it is. Okay, so it's about time. Dude, you know, let me not lie. I do not at all listen to anything the story does or says during the gameplay of Honkai Star Rail. Half the time, I skip everything, right? But if there's one guy, 100%, I have to watch after every single Honkai Star Rail patch, it's the Gamer Chronicles. I already subbed him a while back ago. Liked him. I also did a comment. It's about time, baby, get up, because this dude, oh my, he explains it so well. So obviously, if you end up watching this or it gets put on your system, the Gamer Chronicles, just know I fucking love your content. I like absolutely love your content. It just gives me a way to listen to the story without actually me having to give a shit about what's going on. But with that said, let's get into it, because I will not lie, I've been waiting for this dude to remove this video, because the only thing I know is the fact that a lot of people died, which is a bit sad, but he's the best person, so let's get started.
They're not even trying to be subtle anymore. This Trailblaze quest was jam-packed with lore, Easter eggs, and foreshadowing what's to come. A lot of reoccurring
I think we can do it faster.
The stakes were really high in this quest. Honestly, I'm comfortable saying just the overall quality of the entire quest, the lore we got, it wasn't as bloated, and even the dialogue that we did get throughout the quest felt meaningful with purpose, and it wasn't so beating around the bush, taking 10 minutes to turning into what he's going to become. So let's break it all down and start from the beginning. I honestly loved how this quest didn't waste any time. We find a black cloth, and then immediately the Flame Reaver appears. And for a split second, I was
some things I know I understand, so we can go from
these prophecies on how these Chrysos heirs are going to die. We're about to find out real quick, because they drop like flies in this quest.
Yeah, they do.
Flashes over to Ligas and Dan Heng talking about the Astral Express.
I didn't understand this bit, so let me listen.
Talking to Ligas at the end of 3.2, Ligas is also a follower of Erudition, an artificial being similar to Skrullum. Dan Heng then revealing that in the Grove, he found excessive research on the Sky Titan. Many scholars believing that the world beyond the sky is taboo, and this all potentially stems from a curse cast by Aquila, the Sky Titan, which we're going to learn about later on. The Sky Titan having a lot of power over the entire atmosphere of Amphorius, the weather, everything. It's the Sky Titan for a reason, and there's a reason why the Flame Chasers chose this Titan to be the last one they confronted, because if it turns out to be a catastrophe, at least it's the last one they need. The Sky Titan being the reason why we cannot leave Amphorius. The Astral Express crew members, us and Dan Heng, are kind of stuck here for the time being. Also,
I didn't know that. I thought they didn't have a way to get back because of like a barrier. I didn't know it was them. Anyway, let's go.
No, they did change the main voice of the main MCs, which kind of threw me off right at first. I'm like, what the hell? I did not read or see any information on that anywhere, so it caught me way off guard. I'm not overly thrilled about it, but I can get used to it, since I guess it was inevitable. If we're gonna have no voice acting this long, it's been almost a year now, I guess it's time. Ligas then says he can fully restore our damaged car to return to the Astral Express, returning to our journey sooner. Ligas then also stating he can open up a path for us out of Amphorius that circumvents the Sky Titan's divine punishment. Just as a side note, when talking about the Sky Titan and the Sky People, you're going to see so many parallels to Teyvat, it's insane. Ligas then trying really hard to get us to leave. Will you cease your support in the Flame Chase journey? Ligas really wanting us to leave. Dan Heng then stating, like, I want to believe you're a good guy and accept your goodwill, but you have such a mysterious background and motives that I cannot trust your judgment. We're gonna stick around until we see the end of this journey. Find on the Trailblazer and Mem at the Grove making preparations for their confrontation with the Sky Titan. That's when the cleaners show up there as well, to do the same thing they're doing with Dan Heng. To stall them and make sure they're distracted, they're here. During the Chrysos War, to combat the Chrysos heirs, several cities formed an underground assassin squad called...
Okay, this bits I understood, because you obviously you can't skip through it, but you can kind of like skim through the text that is obviously on the screen. But I know these guys are basically like an underground assassination cult or organization formed by whatever console to sort of put things right or in place. So yeah.
Cleaners. To target and kill anyone with golden blood from existence. This is basically Amphorius' version of the Winter Soldier program, having a bunch of those super soldiers like in Captain America Civil War. While the cleaners are off distracting the other parties, they show up and kill Aglaya. Aglaya being the glue that's held everything together in Okama for so long, with her golden threads. The Elders always trying to spin it as her manipulating and taking away the free will of the people. She's also been protecting them this entire time from the Black Tide and the other threats. But Aglaya always knew this day was coming, and this is all part of her plan. The Elders always trying to spin it that the Chrysos heirs just want to take divine power from the Titans to become demigods for power alone, using their malice and their malicious intent as a just means to assassinate one of the Flame Chasers. But
I'm gonna kill a fly. Give me a second, dude. I'm gonna kill it.
If he can die in a way that inspires the people people to support the flame chase, make a martyr out of herself, which she's about to do. Then the people will fully support the most exceptional of all of them, the one that's prophesized to lead them all into the new era, Era Nova, the Deliverer. Then we get a flashback between Aglaya, the seamstress, and Cypher, a child known as a petty thief with golden blood that doesn't feel worthy to be a flame chaser, but Aglaya takes her in anyway, acting as a mentor and a mother figure. Cypher also being one of the older demigods, at this point in time being a refugee from the lost city of Dolos. Then it cuts to Cypher still in Styxia with Bartholos, who was obviously later revealed to be the Titan of Trickery themselves, Zagreus, and that they've been tricking everyone this entire time about killing the Titan. I did really enjoy how they used the Titan of Trickery, the whole concept of trickery, and how it played a much bigger role in Amphorius and the entire story of the Flame Chasers, but in the best way possible, deceiving everyone this entire time, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But Bartholos starts asking her and acting out of character, asking about the world-bearing Titan and specific things that she's told people, like how she used to be an apprentice for Kephales's priestess court. Then Cypher realizes right away that Aglaya's basically been spying on her this entire time, probably an on and off again thing that's happened for like 1,000 years, since Aglaya and Cypher are actually very close, and we learn that once she finds the bug. Aglaya even able to fool the Titan of Trickery, and this is where they have a heartfelt moment. Aglaya hoping that when the chips are down, she'll come to their aid in Okama, fulfill her duties as a flame chaser. And now similar to Anexa, Aglaya's physical body is gone, and her journey as a human in this world is now over. She talks about how every piece of fabric for the last 1,000 years has been tainted by her cold divinity, except for this ornament. She then condenses her divinity into this ornament, that it still contains some of her power and life force, and it might be useful in the future to help them complete the mission. Which it does, tasking the blacksmith with making Phynon a weapon. Phynon naturally still in disbelief and denial that Aglaya, his mentor, has fallen to the cleaners. Somebody so powerful and so renowned.
I will not lie, half the bloody time, if it wasn't for the fact that he said that, I thought they were lovers. I'll be very honest, the way he was just very depressed about her specific death as opposed to everyone's, I thought she was his lover. I will not lie, that's what I thought. But now I understand. Now I understand why there was a lot of emotions from his end.
But of course Hyacinth confirms this to be true, and Aglaya leaves that very touching letter to Phynon, basically to encourage him to step up and take the role of leader now that she's gone, since at the end of the day, this all revolves around him. He's the most exceptional, and he is the one that they're ultimately going to put their eggs in his basket at the end of the day. Phynon being a very imperfect but perfect guy at the same time as she describes it. He is supposed to represent the best of humanity, even the flawed side of it. That's what we've learned this entire time in Amphorius. I know I'm really emphasizing this, but it's going to be important for later and what's to come. Because yes, we're going to talk about even the leaked gameplay for Phynon in 3.4. If you haven't seen it yet, you ought to.
Yeah, it is. Let's just talk about that for a second. Jesus Christ. Everybody has probably seen those leaks. And my goodness, let me tell you, I don't know if I can log in real quick. I have saved. Let me see if I can log in real quick. Let me see if I can log in. I have saved on my main account. I've saved on my main account close to now 340 polls, right? I have not summoned for any Amphorius character since Amphorius came out, and it's because I knew the rumor was when the game started, when this region started, Phynon was basically Kevin Caslana. Now I'm not like a lore person in terms of Honkai Impact 3rd, but what I do know is I've played Honkai Impact 3rd until that point where you face Kevin Caslana. Now I didn't know who he was or what he was. I just thought he was just one of those emo protagonists doing the best for the world that let him down, so on and so forth, those kind of things. Just to learn, there is a lot of story behind who Kevin is, right? So when we started Amphorius, I kid you not, it was made very clear to me that obviously looking on YouTube that he is quite an important character. And this is obviously his XP. So let me show you this. I'm going to go to window capture and then Honkai Star Rail. I have 345 pulls ready for this man. 304. I have not bought the express pass. I've not been able to buy these things because I've just been saving. I didn't use this golden companion spirit because I don't need any of the characters here. I already have them. I don't need her light cone because I already have it. I already have her at E0. I don't need her at E1. To be honest, I would much prefer if they're able to give or put someone like Acheron, Robin, or Acheron, Robin, or let's say Fugue, right? Which is obviously probably not going to happen. But if they if they can put Acheron, Fugway, or Robin into this, I am saving up for that 100%. And probably next year, when we go into the next anniversary, I am going to be able to be able to get 2. Right? It's a probability, because this thing doesn't expire. It doesn't at all. So there is the possibility that we will be able to get 2, and if we're able to get 2, I will be able to get at least that Robin, Acheron, or Fugway at E1, which is very good. But check, not spent a single dime, my friends. Not spent a single dime. But yeah, we are 100% hoping and praying. We're waiting. It's even worse that we probably have to wait like 2 months, but we have 2 months of basically farming for another 80 pools, because technically you have to count pity in 160 rather than 80, because unless you're really lucky, that's the only time you will probably get even the weapon and the character. And I am at a loss of 50-50, meaning I am bound to lose the 50-50. My last pool was on Herta, and it was in January. By the way, it was in January. My last pool was in January, and it was for Herta, and I got her and I got a Lightcone. So odds are that I am going to lose the 50-50, but knowing Hoyoverse, I am going to lose that 50-50. So basically that's already 80 pools gone, right? Then we're going to pull again, which is going to remove another 160. So basically I am now down 160 for my 345 just to get the character. Now we want the weapon. We got the weapon, and you know how this weapon banners are. As much as they say there's 75%, 25%, bull crap. You will lose the 50-50 half the bloody time, because it's not fair at all. And it's pathetic, to be honest, if I can say so, to be honest. But that's another 160. Why? Because I also did get her Lightcone, I think. I also did get her Lightcone, and it's literally on it's not even at the pity mark. We're starting from 0. So yeah, basically, that's another 160 gone. So technically I have enough, because 160 plus 160 is literally 320, right? I don't know if I can't see my camera, because I have to switch back to my yeah, it's 160 or 320, right? So that 320, I don't know why, let me just invert, transform, flip horizontal, there we go, right? I hope you can see now. At 320, okay? So it's, I don't know, like, actually that's wrong, because my yeah, that's completely wrong. Let me change that, transform. No. Oh god, I've messed it up. There, and then you transform, and then there. Yeah, that's my right hand. Yeah, okay. So basically, yeah, 320. So technically, just to get the character and his weapon, I am at least guaranteed him and his weapon. If I'm lucky enough and I'm able to get pulls or 5 stars early during the 80 period pity pull, then yeah, well, good enough. But yeah, that's pretty much the problem that I am currently having, because it is absolutely frustrating over the fact that I don't know, where was I? Yes, I was there. Let me just yeah, it's just frustrating. Just know it's a very frustrating way to sort of play gacha, because I'm not going to spend money at all, none whatsoever. I am never going to spend money at all to get a character. I'll just deal with the fact that I'm not able to get a character, simple as that. So yeah, anyway, let's see now.
A martyr, so she basically baited the cleaners to kill her in cold blood, now making the flame chasers look better in the public eye, which will actually help fish out the cleaners. The torch now officially passed on to Finon, and that's where the blacksmith shows up and gives him the sword he's been making. And I shit you not, look at the sword. You can't make this stuff up. The ultimate sun and moon motifs. I nearly laughed when he told us the name of it too. Dawnmaker. Also giving him the bracelet that contains Aglaya's divinity remnants. And just for context, the reason why Phynon is known as the Deliverer is because all of the Chrysos heirs, the Flame Chasers, are all destined to die. They all have their prophesized ending, but there needs to be a deliverer of the new era. One remaining Flame Chaser that ushers it in, and that's always been prophesized to be Phynon. That is the significance of him. Basically, if you look at this whole Flame Chase journey, it's like a giant relay race, passing the baton on to the next racer. Phynon is the last racer before the finish line, and they've always known this for over 1,000 years. And that's where Phynon has this pretty epic speech to rally the citizens, pump Aglaya's tires in her memory, while trying to give the people hope as the new leader moving forward. Now that the journey is reaching its end, they're in the endgame now. Phynon then reminiscing about all of the friends he's lost along the way. This whole scene to me is very pivotal and important. It's bittersweet because he gets to reminisce within his mind to his old friends, and this really just further humanizes Phynon as the very imperfect, perfect good guy. But this is the turning point because from here on out, Phynon becomes way more serious and devoted to being the leader, and you can slowly start to see it take its toll on him. There's a lot of pressure to what he has to do now. We get more cutscenes with Aglaya and young Cypher. Aglaya not so subtly revealing this very precious treasure that's part of Kefali's divine body. Aglaya's intentions very transparent, enticing the literal demigod of trickery, and then being very nonchalant, like, oh, I bet you're gonna go try to poke around there now. Cypher then asking if she's peeking into her head with her golden threads. And this line really does summarize Cypher. She says that you're skilled at covering up lies, but your compassion is all over your face plain as day. Aglaya believing that she's a good person and the only one that can truly bear the authority of trickery. Basically telling her that she doesn't need to change who she is, just be a good person at the end of the day. Cypher's never gonna be somebody like Aglaya that can touch people's hearts and help people in the same way. She has to be able to help people and contribute to the journey in a way that she's capable through trickery. And that's where Phynon and Cypher have their conversation, gearing up for the next phase of the plan. Cypher revealing that without Aglaya, the city is exposed to both the Black Tide and the Flame Reaver, but she will use her demigod powers to keep the city safe and keep the core flame of Kefali, the world-bearing titan, safe as well. So Phynon and the others can go confront the Sky Titan without any worry. When it comes to the Sky People, there's this prophecy. 1,000 years ago, Celios who conquered the skies left behind legends and a will, entrusting the mission to return the Sky Titan's core flame to her descendants. Obviously, this whole legend with Celios and the Sky People is going to become very important when we learn the truth. Cypher then in the Vortex of Genesis talking with Tribby, discussing the huge mission that Phynon gave her, leaves Tribby with a letter. This letter we would learn contains Zagreus themselves, who is in turn holding the world-bearing Titan's core flame, the core flame being contained into that letter. Then using her magical artifact passed down by the Sky People forming a rainbow bridge, they enter the Twilight Courtyard that looks very abandoned obviously, and using Mem and the Trailblazers' power over time, they're able to gather context from the past. Even among the Sky People there was a lot of conflict and strife between the Rainfolk and the Sunfolk, them constantly battling with each other trying to change the weather and undermine the other by using the Celestial Mural. And throughout the legend it was always said that the Sky Titan
I feel like I look weird.
Alter and change the weather. The
Could just do that.
Glorious, but we later learn in this quest that it was all human creation. I keep wanting to call it the Sky Temple. I've played a lot of Zelda in my time, but there are a ton of themes in this whole chapter talking about the Sky Titan in terms of humanity taking advantage of their Titan. It's really no different than what we learned with Nikador. Humans doing terrible things to each other in the name of a greater good. The Rainfolk and the Sunfolk fighting each other, committing atrocities in the name of their gods. And this is where we meet Sullubus and Lunabis, the goddesses of sun and thunder that fought alongside Cellulose, way back when the Flame Chase journey first begun. And that's what's really interesting about Amphorius. There are past iterations of this whole Flame Chase journey, the cycle, we've talked about that a lot, since even Mem at some point, when looking at the architecture, refers to that as even a memory of that architecture. It's weird, it's like, is this whole world a giant memory on loop, as a giant infinity sign? Celios was a denizen of Aquila's Sky Fortress, after Tribios ascended to be the first demigod of passage, and began spreading the prophecy of the current iteration of the Chrysos heirs' Flame Chase journey. Celios was actually the first Chrysos heirs to respond challenging the Sky Titan, despite trying to be shackled by her own people, being a descendant of both the Rain and Sun tribes, known as the Day Thunder Knight. And there's really a lot of themes that remind me of Teyvat with this whole sequence in the Twilight Courtyard. Being too afraid to challenge the heavens above, the people trying to shackle her down. There's a lot of themes that also resemble the current iteration and timeline of Amphorius. I mean, just look what the Cleaners did to Aglaya. Even if it was part of her plan, the elders and people are always scheming against the Flame Chasers, humans being humans. It's no different than Celios. She even goes as far as to state that she feels sorry for them, growing up among you and once saw myself as part of this tribe. Now, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole since there's a lot to digest here when talking about just the Twilight Courtyard itself, but essentially they tried to shackle the hero, the Chrysos heirs of that era, even casting her out at one point. The people not wanting her to slay the Titan in the name of the Chrysos heirs' mission. Humans commit atrocities and have outrageous behavior in the name of the gods. Use that as an excuse, like their control over the weather and trying to outdo the other tribes. Just typical human behavior, and this is going to be a reoccurring theme. But she challenged the Sky Titan anyway, and these two goddesses were her companions that helped her do it. Even stating that the humans that watched them fight the Sky Titan were in utter horror and agony. Because remember, the average person had centuries-long old faith, believing in the Sky Titan, for that to be overturned by the curse of a child of two clans. Phynon has that very interesting line, the creations shaped by Kefali in their image failed to inherit their compassion and acceptance. Even way back then, plotting and trying to side with the Cleaners. Her unconditional tolerance towards humanity was met with ruthless betrayal, but rather than actually kill and defeat the Titan, she merged with it. Similarly to Anexa, only this Titan had already been affected by the Black Tide, now passing severe judgment to her followers and the people. Their blasphemy, their arrogance, and their cruelty. sentencing many of them to death and condemning them. The weak rise to power, yet the cycle of hatred endures, unbroken through times. Celios now made her judgment. The corruption within humanity...
Funny story.
Yeah, I've not paid for the YouTube Premium because I'm never going to do such a thing.
Yet, at one point, the champion of the Sky People, all of these positive legends about her, with such love and fierce devotion, gave up on them. When Celios actually connected with the Sky Titan, she saw what the god fears. Rooted in darkness spawning from the edge of the world, the black tide that devours all. There was always a stigma that the Sky Titan favored the Sun People over the Rain Folk, but it turns out that there was not favoritism. The Sky Titan fled towards the scorching sun because they were afraid of the shadows, the black tide, and humanity misinterpreted the god's intentions, weaponizing this misunderstanding, referring to the people now as unsavable. Your future flows between the boiling streams of the golden pool at your feet. Rejoice as everyone's flesh and blood merge with liquid gold. You will finally understand what true unity means. Damn. That is savage. Boiling a vast majority of them in golden blood. You guys want to fight? You want a petty squabble as humans? Even ostracizing me? Well, once she merged with the Sky Titan, she condemned them all. Humanity really is its own worst enemy. They spent their entire lives praying to the sky, yet their devotion never earned them wings to escape their fate. Such irony. Except for one unnamed Chrysos heirs with golden blood that was able to survive and make a plea deal with the Sky Titan, which turned out to be the real reason why Hyacinth's entire lineage and bloodline survived. I mean, even the Titan calls her out. You were one of the Sunborn. You never rose to defend the weak when your kin oppressed the Rainfolk. This unknown person pleading for her life. That humans are not all bad and manipulative. There is a chance at redemption. I'm going to go into greater detail on the whole chapter of the Twilight Courtyard because it's fascinating, and there are so many freaking parallels with Teyvat, it's crazy. But essentially, she talks her way into living, saying that if you let me live, I'll pass down this epic tale for generations of your benevolence, how you were this legendary hero. The same tale that Hyacinth's been preaching. So she learns the true origins of her descendants. Sometimes even the most righteous and good-willed humans turn bad in the end. This is where we finally challenge the Sky Titan. It's one of the most epic fights we've ever had in this game. And Finon is not messing around. I really like the touch of having a free-fall battle with the Sky Titan until they nearly hit the golden boiling pool below, but Aglaya saving them with her golden threads through the bracelet. Now the Twilight Courtyard is unstable. The building is about to collapse. As they try to escape, the bracelet falls into the golden pool, and we get Aglaya's prophecy come to fruition, and this one really hit home. I shall have my final bath in warm and radiant gold. As we're all trying to escape, oh, you thought the boss battle was done, time for phase 3. But now it's no longer the Sky Titan, but a bastardized version controlled completely by the Black Tide, because Hyacinth already has the core flame. Honestly, I know I stated this in the video before, but this was an up in quality for this whole quest. This boss battle was visually amazing. And look at the scene here where the Sky Titan summons Meteor from the sky above. Doesn't this remind you of something? Then once they actually defeat the Sky Titan for good, it cuts to Cypher again, doing exactly what Aglaya quote-unquote did not want her to do, poking around Dawn Cloud looking for this very ancient artifact of Kefali. The eternal night is looming, but over the next 300 years, the Dawn device will safeguard the holy city, poised for the children of humanity to create miracles. Then she had to impersonate the old dying chaplain's assistant. The old chaplain giving her this news. And something that I was not expecting was Cypher to single-handedly save Amphorius by simply just doing what she does best. Lying. And Aglaya, although we weren't really sure about her when we first got to Amphorius, and even the citizens themselves had their speculations on her, she was the most selfless person, admired by everyone, and ultimately sacrificed herself to see the journey through. Cypher, commonly known to be the most selfish, creating a lie that kept Amphorius alive for centuries, way longer than it had any business surviving, and only Aglaya ever knew of her true sacrifice. The cleaners try to take care of Cypher, but she makes short work of them. That's when the Flame Reaver confronts her and they have their little cat and mouse game. She leads the Flame Reaver on a wild goose chase, trying to deceive him. This whole sequence was awesome. Even the part where she impersonates Finon, that was incredible. Thought that was hilarious. Especially the whole duality, because the Flame Reaver and Finon obviously have a crap ton of similarities. But ultimately, the Flame Reaver catches up with her and ends her life. But in the end, Cypher did what she was tasked to do. Distract the Flame Reaver, allowing them to get back safely and complete their mission with the Sky Titan, but also safeguard the world-bearing Titan's core flame that was already contained in that letter we talked about earlier. You shall walk with greed and die over petty change. I love in her final moments, she only thinks of Aglaya. It was absolutely gut-wrenching. I was not expecting this death to even happen, let alone have this much weight, and she only thinks—
Yeah, like I was, I think every version of the story was a bit, especially like the starting, you get to understand what Amphorius is about, and then after Algae, or whatever her name is, we got Anaxa, right? No. Yeah. It was My Day. We got My Day. And then after My Day, we got Anaxa. And then after Anaxa, we got now Castaris, right? Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I feel there's just a lot of... The story has been very slow until now. And then they just randomly introduce, like, if you're playing this game up to this point of the story, it's a bit weird. Like, if no, it's better because you're flowing through everything very fast, and the story is just going, one step at a time, and it's a continuous flow. But if you are like following the story and you're going, with it patch by patch, it's taking too long. Like, we just got introduced to Cypher the last patch, right? Then it's been like 2 months, and then all of a sudden the next patch just killed, just like that. I mean, come on, man.
Wanting her to say something, wanting her to know that she did do some good and accomplished her mission. She, at the end of the day, helped the Flame Chase journey in her own way, in a big way. The true unsung hero of Amphorius that saved us all. But now that Cypher is dead, the true skies of Amphorius and Okama are revealed. This was all part of her trickery and lie. Now, Amphorius is truly looking like a place where the Destruction Emanator resides. Hyacinth then completing her Flame Chase journey, becoming the demigod of Sky. We have yet to see what that's going to look like in the next patch. They didn't really need to show us her completing the trial because we know that she's going to be able to. I really like the touch that even the ancient hero that merged with the Sky Titan way back when basically wants atonement and forgiveness for her atrocities after merging with the Titan, the awful things she did to humanity, burning them alive, her own people. And Hyacinth, as nice as she is, says, no, that's not mine to give. Again, I thought the storytelling in this quest was very deep and well done. The entire city now is naturally in shambles. They go to obtain the core flame, but it's not there, which means Cypher obviously accomplished her mission. And that's where the Flame Reaver then confronts our main group. The Flame Reaver states the sky has returned to its rightful place, referring to the trickery that's been blinding it now removed. The world must be reset. Don't forget that last patch when Mem peeked into the Flame Reaver's mind, it showed a fractured Cyrene. And the Flame Reaver also referring to this cycle with Cypher. Fine on even stating that maybe you should be siding with us, because it sounds like your goals align with ours. The dusk has set, but it's time to bring the dawn. So another fight breaks out, but Mighty comes in to rescue them and to stall the Flame Reaver so they can get away and accomplish their mission. They're so close at this point. And when the story continues, that's where Mightyos now meets his fate. His prophesized ending. Something that already almost happened back in 3.1. And remember, the only person that Mighty ever told about his weakness was Phynon. Even the blacksmith gives his life to save us, trying to make it back to the Vortex of Genesis, and then the Flame Reaver returns so Dan Heng stays behind. This is where we open the letter that Cypher gave to Trinon, containing Zagreus with the core flame. Like we already said, saving Okama, tricking everyone to believing the giant ball on Kefali's back would cast light forever, even managing to fool the Ascension trial, allowing Zagreus to survive. And what allowed daylight to shine over Okama was not Kefali's miracle, but Cypher's lie woven with the divine authority of trickery, like Cypher foreshadowed at the beginning of the quest. A lie.
That's nowhere like how does that even work though? Like, so she's obviously able to not according to what I understood, her shape-shifting is not necessarily shape-shifting. She takes the thought of whatever you believe and manifests it in a realistic way. So everything about that transformation is going to be real. So I mean, I understand where they're going from. She did the biggest trick, which is basically, change the sky to make it look more sunny, and all that stuff. But in actuality, it was really... it's just, I don't know.
If everyone believes it becomes the truth. It is what the people needed to believe at the time. So they did, and it worked. The people needed the daylight to shine, or they would have never made it this far. Again, like I stated at the beginning of the video, I really loved how they used trickery in this quest. Zagreus talks about how the world has hundreds of millions of possibilities, and basically all but one will come to fruition. That will result in certain destruction. What saved Amphorius wasn't the grace of the simpleton, Kefali, nor was it the babbling of that child Oronix. Probably my favorite Titan so far. And to make matters worse, we learned that the water in the fountains dried up, which is their passage to the Vortex of Genesis. Now Trinon has to use her powers of passage to get them there, which means we know every time she expels this power, she loses a fragment of herself. And with that, we're losing yet another Flame Chaser. The first ever Flame Chaser. How fitting that her last usage of her powers of passage would be to get us to the Vortex of Genesis with the last...
This is where I was a bit confused. So basically, she used this whole passage thing, and it killed her. And I was like, what? Trippy. The whole like all three. I was like, what? I mean, My Day dies, Cypher dies, and then we have the best, I would say, because she's a child, but apparently she's old. But apparently, every Cryos heir has, I'd say, it's a double-edged sword. You see, a good example is Algae can see through lies, but cannot see. What? What do you call it? No, she was losing humanity or something like that. I don't know. But every single of this important Cryos heirs has a negative, but then the only person who doesn't have a negative is what's his name? is Finon. So like her, every time she uses her gate or her power, she becomes younger or she loses years. She basically goes back to being younger. So apparently she uses, I didn't even know this until it happened. She uses the gate to get Finon to that location where the fountain is, and then she dies. I was like, what? That's a bit quick.
Core flame, and she states that because even without the prophecy, we have confidence to say, you will become the rising sun. Man, I can't even tell you how excited I am to make a video about Finon. They gave us so much in this quest. We then get a really cool scene with Herta and Skrullum as projections now seeing the true skies of Amphorius, discussing the Intellatron Ligas, probably using a fake body, something behind it, still denying us, still preventing us from getting here physically, just holograms. And this whole bit about Ligas using a fake body is also very important. I must admit, even if both of us work together, it wouldn't be a simple task piercing through this defense. Herta being confident that they've always succeeded when they collab, but they wish they brought Steven or Stefan with them. Stefan Lloyd being a genius that helped them create the simulated universe. No wonder the Garden of Recollection wanted to work with the Astral Express. Without the power of the Trailblazer, it would be impossible to unearth this place's secrets, but in the end, the garden emerged unscathed, and it was the Nameless who got burnt. Curiosity definitely killed Aki. Are they insinuating that Akaveli's final resting place was here? Is this where they died? The immediate priority now is to find the whereabouts of the two Nameless, before our research on the destruction can be continued. Every second counts before the Intellatron's preventative measures kick in. The card-playing Memo Keeper told me that the frozen Trailblaze girl might just also be trapped in Amphorius. This has to be Mem. March 7th was found encased in ice with no recollection of who or what she was. Her memory stripped from her. Mem could be that contained memory within Amphorius this entire time. Herta, do you hear that? A wave of desperate cries from the heart of the mountain. Conclusion, the butterfly has already flapped its wings. Herta then refers to that thing that once sowed chaos across the cosmos, causing the Intelligentsia Guild to splinter, until she cracked the solitary waves theory. If you've watched my Genius Society videos, the solitary waves theory is essentially what Herta created or solved to become an emanator of erudition. I'm not going to get into that here, but it's pretty significant. And this whole thing about the butterfly has flapped, we hear suffering and screams. The source of Amphorius' tragedy is the Emperor's scepter that survived to this day. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Then we get to the final phase of the quest where Finon approaches the Vortex of Genesis, but Ligas is there, despite him not even having access or taking interest in this ever. Finon is naturally skeptical of him, stating that he has become the most loyal reader of the epics, a spectator, consuming the deeds of heroes, talking about a swordsmaster that left everything behind plunging into the sea of madness, the gaze of the distant stars. And then Liga states, one day you will understand but not now, because this cycle or iteration of Finon has never left Amphorius nor knows about the outside world, but we're getting to that. Notice how Finon's name is now scribed out? I thought this could be like an Acheron 2.0 where her name is Acheron but at the end it reveals it as Raiden May, so maybe they would drop the whole Kevin on us, and that's where this whole thing with Finon's so important. Now his name's scribed out and he's being very cryptic. Throughout the entire quest, especially after Aglaya died, he became more cynical and slowly started to lose it a little bit. Getting to that very desperate, I'll do whatever it takes to succeed, which is the most classic cliche for a ultimate hero to become the villain. If you've watched this channel long enough, you know exactly where I stand with Finon. Finon once believed that as long as he chased the flames relentlessly, the fog before me would clear, and fate would reveal its truest form. They all who passed never once received the just promised by the prophecy. Liga stating that I've perceived outside the vortex, the world is collapsing and the children of humanity are crying. This cruel flame chase journey has made me abandon my fantasies that future is not a paradise with a gentle west wind waiting for us to step in. What lies ahead is a massive chaos. I will tear it apart, then usher in the first ray of blazing sunlight. All shall bid farewell to one, and that one person alone will witness the miracle. Such is the will of fate. Yet this time will be an epic with endless cycles. Such is Amphorius, this giant infinity loop. The endless cycles of the flame chase journey, over and over again. And then finally, we get Finon's childhood friend, Cyrene, revealed. Now, I can't tell if she's physically here, it seems like she is, and if that's the case, that means that March 7th and Mem are no longer connected to Cyrene, as far as we know. This will be a romantic story like none that has come before. Wouldn't it be funny at the end here, it's 3 emanators in this room, Finon the Destruction, Ligas Erudition, and then Cyrene the Remembrance. Now, first things first. The scepters causing this calamity that Herta references, and she only references one scepter still being active. What is she talking about? Well, again, if you've watched my...
Yeah, now we can get to the meet and greet. Like, now I understand where we are in the story, but there's just some things that, like I said, half the time, I don't even understand what's going on. I know what a Lord Ravager is. Basically, generals of Nanook, the emanator of destruction, basically handpicked to lead the army of the Legion or whatever it is.
Genius Society video, this will make a lot more sense, but to briefly summarize, and we'll go into more detail on this in later videos,
Go on.
Black Tide is the anti-organic equation. This is all but confirmed now. Something I've talked about in previous Amphorius videos, but now it seems to be confirmed. And just one of these scepters was able to bring tragedy to Amphorius. Can you imagine when there were thousands of them in the cosmos during the Second Emperor War? Also, that line about, do you hear that? Desperate cries coming from the heart of the mountain, lives there undergoing suffering. Screwlum says, conclusion, the butterfly has already flapped its wings. I feel like this further confirms that Amphorius isn't necessarily taking place in the actual present, but is at the same time, like a fractured memory loop that we're living through. Because along with the scepters comes the mechanical wars, right? What Screwlum is referencing about this butterfly has flapped, and the screams and suffering is Polka Kakamond, the 4th Genius Society member, the Lord of Silence, who uses the power of butterfly affecting to assassinate people throughout the timeline, to prevent the circle of knowledge from expanding. She was obviously involved in both mechanical wars. She's the one that killed Rupert I
don't even know what the mechanical war is, to be honest, but sure.
The organic equation in the second mechanical wars. So for Screwlum to be referencing Polka Kakamon makes a ton of sense. Also because Amphorius is kind of taking place in both the past and present in this very contorted memory, time loop, infinity logo world. It's hard to really say exactly what's going on here. To me, at least, it sounds like a scepter was implanted here, and this was all part of the war and part of Rupert II's domain with his scepter system, his hive mind. But Amphorius was isolated somehow to be in a time loop, but erudition still lingered here, hence Lygus. Lygus could also be a fraction of Rupert himself. I've speculated this already, I think in my last Amphorius video, when Lygus was talking to Herta. And what's funny enough, and actually makes sense for Amphorius context, is Fully themselves is the one that prophesized this horrifying mechanical war that would erupt throughout the cosmos when the antivirus program was activated. Long story short, Rupert I was this computer in a trash heap that gained sentience, kind of like Ultron, invented this anti-organic equation. This equation was enough to receive the gaze of news, to become part of the Genius Society, and the anti-organic equation kind of ravaged the entire cosmos for a while, until Polka Kakamon murdered Rupert I, but Rupert II was a human that integrated its mind with Rupert's to become Rupert II. And during the Scholar strife sometime, a Scholar accidentally synthesized with the anti-organic virus, while trying to create a hybrid being that possesses both the advantages of organic and inorganic life forms. And the scepters all connected through Rupert like a hive mind throughout the cosmos. I guess one ended in Amphorius. All of the scepters now said to be offline, but I guess according to Herta, one slipped through the cracks, and is hidden within the orb of Kefali, which will cause the birth of an unknown Lord Ravager. It's like the perfect universe-conquering equation. And if you think about how the
Okay, so obviously we've seen the leaks. Finance a bit. He looks busted. I will not lie. He looks extremely bloody busted. It's not even a joke at all. Like he is. That is like a next level of character creation or unit creation from Hoyoverse. Like the fact that they have gone to the point where they've. It's a completely new character, new game. Like dude even has, I'm not gonna say anything, but the mechanic he gets when he goes into his other form, Jesus.
Black Tide works, the malice of humans, like we've learned in Amphorius this entire time, kind of makes sense. And it explains why erudition is here, and explains why even the Remembrance is here, since the Remembrance was the first to know of this equation before it even happened, prophesized it. And that's what Amphorius is all about, right? Prophecies of the future, the new era. But it seems like it's all been integrated here into this cycle for some reason. Why is that? Well, obviously some memory time shenanigans is going on here. Perhaps this was to stall the anti-organic equation somehow, and the geniuses like Lygus that are involved here are now just studying the phenomenon, maybe, or just investigating the scepter. Now, obviously I can't say for sure, but there's quite a few hints that link Lygus to Rupert, either connected to Rupert or a part of Rupert's empire, maybe Rupert himself. And the reason for this is one, they talk about he's still alive, this is just a body, which makes perfect sense for somebody like Rupert. Rupert's kind of like Ultron. The physical body that they're in doesn't really matter. It's an inorganic being, almost like a program or a computer. Secondly, Herta's an emanator of erudition and Screwlum's no slouch himself. The two of them working together aren't even sure if they can overcome the safety protocols that Lygus and whoever's behind this have implanted. This is why Lygus can mysteriously fix our Astral Express car and wants us to leave. We possess a power that maybe threatens what they're doing here. And thirdly, like I said, she mentions Akavili or Aki, their death. A big novelty when we first learned of Amphorius back in Penacony when it was teased that Akavili has never visited this place. Maybe Akavili has, but never got to leave. Why would she say this? I don't think just any follower of erudition could be this dangerous and this cunning, and this capable if it's not connected to Rupert and the mechanical wars. Just something to note. You guys already know where I stand with Finon. My speculation has been pretty much since the very first quest we've got with the Flame Reaver, that Finon is either going to become Nanook of Destruction themselves or a Lord Ravager. Now, based on...
No. Okay. Maybe no. I feel I wouldn't say that's a bad take. It's a very good, realistic take. I feel that there is a possibility that everybody's been hinting the fact that he's an emanator, right? But when he gets to that, he's not an emanator now, but when he gets when the story introduces him in that second form, I think it'll be the same thing as the Fei Xiao story, where she was obviously going into that crazed frenzy mode, and within her she got both a gaze and the power of the hunt. Right? You understand? Like, she got both power and gazed by the Aeon of the hunt. So in this case, because of how powerful he is, because even if you look at let's say Acheron, let's look at Acheron. Acheron is an emanator, but she's also, I don't know, a self-annihilator or something like that, because not only was she gazed upon by X, but she also received powers from X, but in return ended up being a self-annihilator. So the more power she gains from X, the less of something that she loses. Now in this case, it's like a taste or whatever, or sense of color or whatever. So in this case, I feel, yes, he is going to be an emanator. I mean, you look at every single character. Just look at the likes of Acheron and now Phanon. Acheron, just lore-wise, dude, she's probably one of the most powerful characters in the game. Let's not bloody lie here. Like, you cannot fight against nihility, right? No, and I don't think anyone can fight against nihility. Now let's look at Phanon. Phanon gets his second form, however they're going to spin the story, but I don't think he's going to be a Lord Ravager. In fact, I feel he's going to fight the Lord Ravager, and then he himself becomes an emanator in the process of fighting that Lord Ravager. So I feel that, this is my theory, I feel that during this last phase, or this coming patch for Phanon, we will get to see him completely despair and then obviously get back up and fight with everything he has. And my thoughts and theory is that he will, I don't know who, I'm not going to say who it is because I don't know who it is, right? But he is going to fight someone, probably this Lord Ravager, and lose midway through the fight, gain like confidence through either the Trailblazer or someone else, and in turn unlock the ability of pure destruction, which is the second form, unto which he then gets gazed upon Nanook and probably even given powers by Nanook, right? Because I think there are two versions of being affiliated with an Eon. You can just be gazed upon by an Eon, meaning he notices your presence or whatever, right? And then there's, I have noticed your presence, here is my power. Now, I don't know how it really works, but yeah.
Off everything we've seen, all the sun and moon motifs, calling him the Dawnbringer, the Deliverer, and if you've seen Phanon's 3.4 leaked gameplay, holy shit. I believe Phanon will become Sun Devourer, one of the Lord Ravagers and Emanators of Destruction, which is supposed to be a sad irony because he's meant to be the Dawnbringer, bringer of the sun, the future, the golden boy. Little is known about Sun Devourer other than they are known to prey on stars and plunging worlds into complete darkness before invading planets. Remember when Phanon was all confused with Lygus talking about beyond Emporius and the stars, and Lygus is like, you don't understand yet, but you will. Maybe future Phanon is already Sun Devourer, this taking place in the past in a cycle. Maybe the Flame Reaver is a version of Phanon from a different cycle that broke out trying to prevent himself from becoming a Lord Ravager. But here's how I see this playing out. Remember the last time Phanon tried to take a core flame strife, it didn't go well, we had to save him? Well, he's about to take the world-bearing Titan core flame, he's the last one that's going to do so. He is obviously compatible and meant to be the world-bearing core flame. We've known this for a long time. But Herta just told us that the world-bearing Titan, a scepter lies within. The world-bearing Titan must have already been corrupted by the scepter, hence the anti-organic equation that now plagues Emporius no matter what, the black tide. And it was because of Cypher and the power of trickery that light still shone across Emporius. But now, if Phanon actually takes in this core flame, it's probably been tainted by the anti-organic equation and the black tide. But just going off of everything we know, how Phanon is now turning cynical towards the end of this quest, he's lost all his friends, his family, his homeland, now his current friends, his flame chaser buddies. This guy is about to become a Lord Ravager, the same Lord Ravager Herta keeps talking about. And what other Lord Ravager would he turn into other than Sun Devourer? That is the most likely outcome, in my opinion. But again, I'm going to talk about all of this.
Very true. No, that's very good. Actually, you know what? I support that 100%. But I don't know. I feel like, Hoyoverse have never removed. They've never put a bad guy as a playable character. You understand? I don't. Yeah. Let's be real with us, like, for a second. They have never put the villain as a playable character. I wish they would, because then they would actually make a very, compelling villain playable character. So, and from what we understand, Lord Ravagers are basically evil people. They're not they're not heroes at all. But I also understand the concept of how destruction does also bring about creation, 100%. So it's not just him destroying worlds. But from what I understand, Nanook, for every world or universe or galaxy or whatever he has destroyed, life has been brought upon on that system or wherever he's destroyed, right? Which makes sense. Good. But at the same time, I think about it this way. Would he actually be a Lord Ravager or just a general emanator? Because a Lord Ravager means that you are going to destroy worlds actively. You are actively destroying worlds. You're not given some direction, go destroy that. You just, whatever world you end up in, you're going to destroy it. End of story.
In its own videos because this video has gone on long enough. There was a lot of context and lore here to digest, so I did my best to reiterate it, summarize it for you guys while talking about some of it, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think of this quest? And how do you think Amphorius will proceed from here? What do you think happens? Do you think Cyrene is here in the flesh? Is she a memory? Is she an emanator of remembrance perhaps? Maybe she's the one trying to prevent her friend from becoming a Lord Ravager, hence why they're trapped in a cycle now. And Lygus may be an extension of the hive mind that is Rupert the First or Second through the Scepters. I am curious to read your comments, but thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this, and as always, we will see you all in the next one. Later.
I already liked and subscribed, my friend, but Jesus Christ, yeah, but you're right. It's gotten complicated. It has gotten complicated. But anyway, with that said, I hope you guys had a good day. Oh my god, just follow this dude. He's so good in terms of the explanations for Genshin. So amazing.